Override is a new mech-based brawler. The gameplay is both different and fun compared to games of this type. Usually when you're in a brawler type situations, the gameplay kinda goes for being more about fast and flashy moves. Rather here, Override opts to focus on how these mechs would actually move and act in combat. Override shows this within the actions you make and how the enemy's attacks affect you. Your hits will come in with an almost like delay feeling as you hit the attack button. After taking some time with the controls, you'll notice that the attack buttons are not unresponsive, but rather the game is giving off that feeling of having an extreme amount of weight behind it, as these large machines would have if they were actually attacking each other. The inputs and display of the action reminded me of the movie Pacific Rim, where the mechs within it would move like they would in real life. Actually pulling off the attacks are rather fun and rewarding here as well. The same can be said about being hit. While getting hit is not the desired outcome, I did like how your mech would react and the animation details that they put into this game when you got hit and then you come back up from that attack. To perform basic attacks, you use the shoulder buttons of the controller. They correspond to the right and left arms and legs for your punches and kicks. You can string these together for simple and deadly combos. There's a really awesome effect when you charge up your attacks and unleash them on your enemies. These attacks will take stamina, and if you perform too many of them, you'll have to wait for your barge to fully recharge before you can perform anything else. This is a similar system we've seen in other games, but here I feel like it fits really well because it would seem like that it would take a lot of power for these machines to be able to work, and that factors into the stamina system. To add to the spectacle of the action are how the buildings will crumble as you run through them or are hit into them. Destroying buildings can help you earn energy for your mech, and the energy is used to launch a bunch of special moves. These can range from an area effect stuns to range blasts and more. You can pick up a variety of weapons along with range guns as well, and when you're low on health, you can launch an ultimate move that's really fun to try out with each of the different characters. game does come with different modes. There's a campaign arcade mode that you can run through. The story isn't really the highlight of this mode. It does provide some context to the missions, but other than that, it doesn't really have an engaging narrative or characters. It simply exists, which is fine because that doesn't get in the way of the action. The game knows what to focus on, and it doesn't pretend to be something else. Within the campaign, you will choose to complete different missions to progress the story. The missions are rather short and sweet, giving the experience a more brisk pace to it. The missions are very samey, with you having to destroy some sort of monsters until you can move on to the next level. Different missions will net you with research points, new equipable mods, weapons, and new customizable options. The research points allow you to essentially improve your stat points of your mech, while improving its armor or thrusters. The points can also be used to obtain new mods and weapons for your next combat encounter. Since the levels are short, the loop of rewards are consistent. After you complete a few missions, you are thrown into a story mission that will push the narrative along. My main issue with the story is how each mission pretty much feels like the last. The missions are fun, but they do have that samey feeling without having much variation. You start to feel the lack of variation as you continue with the campaign. I do think if there were different objectives, that would have helped to prevent this from happening. Thankfully, the missions are rather short. There are a few boss fights within the story, and while they try to provide some mild variation to the normal fights, they need something else to them to really make them stand out. I think the worst part about the boss fights are that they are rather easy. Like most of the campaign, it feels like once the fights get going, they just end. I do think this would have been a great opportunity to really have a great one-on-one match between you and someone else, and make it climactic. The campaign does provide some fun, and it's probably best played with friends, but the versus modes that this game comes with, that's really where this game shines. I do really have to praise Override for including local and online multiplayer along with bots. You get a good amount of options for your brawls, and this is something that's really great and enjoyable with friends. It can get really chaotic and crazy with a free-for-all match. It's messy, silly, and a lot of fun. It does feel like an all-out robot brawl. I do like that you can pick up different weapons to use against your enemies, but I think it would have been really cool if you could pick up buildings or cars or pieces of debris to use as weapons. It would be like these really cool moments where you're trying to improvise and use something within the environment to give yourself an edge. If you've seen Pacific Rim, they use a boat as a sword later on in the film, and I would love to have something like that in a potential sequel. One area I do think would have been fun is being able to build your own mech from the ground up for online multiplayer. There are enough characters to choose from, but I think really being able to build your own mech would have been a great way to be able to show off your personality within online matches. While the story mode does get repetitive, the versus matches do provide good fun with friends. Override is a fun brawler that's a bit different in how it approaches its moveset. The game factors in the weight of these large machines as they are smashing against each other, and this helps to give them a good sense of place. I really like the impact of hitting an enemy and getting hit, as the visuals do a good job of showing how one would react if they were hit within one of these mechs. I do like that they included a campaign. The quick missions and consistent upgrades are fun, but the samey structure of each mission can really make it feel repetitive. The versus mode is where this game truly shines, with fun 4-player battles that can be enjoyed online or offline with friends. If you're looking for a new fun party game, I would recommend you check this one out.